What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall market. I'm also going to talk about why we're going to be looking for some crazy volatility today as we have FOMC, not to mention new developments on Tesla's charts. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total. Not to mention 8.1% APY in uninvested cash. The offer ends very soon, in just about 13 days from now. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with Tesla. So, one thing worth mentioning is that Tesla had this very, very tough resistance at this 480 area. And you guys can see how as soon as Tesla hit 480, we saw 3 moments where it tried to retest that only to slow back down. But then we also have support at this 460 area. So as Tesla came down during the pre-market, we saw buyers step in before starting to slow. So there's a sign right here that we had a very tough resistance at this 480 area, and Tesla's kind of pulling back just a little bit. So we might see a lot of sideways price action in this range, maybe even a small little pullback on Tesla just temporarily. However, there is still potential for this to be just a very minor pullback before it tries to continue to push higher to new all-time highs once again. And the factor that could be affecting this may be FOMC. So I'll talk more about that in just a couple of minutes. Let's first talk about some news. There is some negative news that came out as how Tesla's China factory head, Song Gong, has basically left the company. He wrote this letter to staff that shows this, so not the best of news for them. He's been a manager there since 2018, and he's been working at the Shanghai Gigafactory. And he mentioned that Wednesday would be his last day at the company. That is Tesla's largest factory, and they have very, very insane amounts of outputs and exports to Europe and Southeast Asia. So, unfortunately, that's what the news is telling us. And I just wish the best for Song. He's done a great job at leading the Tesla team over there, and I wish all the best for him. I also want to see what else Tesla could find, or who else Tesla could find to replace him. It's very tough to hear news like this, but it is life, and things like that happen. Now, on top of this, there is some news right here about how Tesla has released the version 13 self-driving version of this new update for FSD. Now, the wide releasing FSD's supervised version 13 to vehicles with hardware for computers is going to, in Elon Musk's words, blow your guys' minds away, essentially. I like the fact that they're now saying, FSD supervised. They have to make it very clear to these users that this is not fully autonomous yet, and there are improvements to be made. But nonetheless, I think it's very, very cool to see this. The main goal right now is to alter Tesla's new monthly AI roadmaps that help it, at least in a lot of different ways, to get closer to new developments. I also think that what's going to be happening is with these improvements, there's going to be, potentially a big increase in the amount of miles that could be driven before interventions have to be made, according to Elon Musk. And then there's going to be better capabilities, at least moving forward. But I'll talk more about them in specific details maybe a little bit later, but just know that that's pretty awesome news. And then I'm seeing this right over here about how there's news coming out that Tesla may be announcing a refreshed Model Y, aka Juniper, very soon. Tesla hasn't officially confirmed this yet, but there's a lot of resources out there that suggest that this is a strong possibility. The reason for that is because some people have claimed that they've seen some like prototypes of what this could end up looking like, and there's been a lot of talk about this for a long time. There's also been talk about some design changes. Like people claim they've seen it before in many different ways, and many credible sources do claim it's coming out soon. So we'll see when this is officially released, if it truly is going to be the case. Once again, Tesla's not confirmed it yet, but that's going to be a big winner for Tesla because this will help incentivize a lot more sales. This is what a lot of people are waiting for. So I think it's going to be very cool. So we'll see how that ends up going for them. Besides that, today is Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. Just know that when we open, there's not really much data coming out, so the market might not see insane volatility. I think it might be a little volatile upon open, but then we're going to be very choppy as the day goes on until 2 p.m. when we have the interest rate hike decision. I keep saying hike decision. It's actually the interest rate decision. They're going to most likely give us a cut of 25 basis points. Currently, there's about a 95% chance that happens. And then at 2:30 p.m., we have the press conference with Jerome Powell's speech. So we'll have to see how that goes. Expect some high volatility. Now, as far as the market is going, we're seeing the Dow, for example, in its straight day of loss, had 9 straight days of downside. So we're going to be hoping to see if there's some kind of bounce or not. Jerome Powell is going to be giving a speech. It's going to cause a lot of volatility. And besides that, we'll have to see what happens at least as time goes on with the government shutdown. There is some talk about that, how funding runs up to Friday. So we'll see what the government ends up doing. And then besides that, there's been some talks about how Nissan, Honda, and others are considering merging and working together to tackle a lot of competitors, especially in the EV space. So interesting news. But now we're just going to focus on what the charts are telling us. So just to be very frank, okay, Tesla is going to likely see a lot of sideways price action. There might be a small dip to about that 460 area. We got to hold that. Otherwise, we could be dipping closer to about 450. This is going to be where our 20 EMA reaches into the lower 450s by the time we open. So this is going to be our main support. Make sure you watch 460 as the main support here. If that fails us, we're looking for essentially the lower 450s, like 452 or so, which is where this 20 EMA is going to be. And if we try to break out, you want to break 480 to turn bullish. For now, I just suspect we dip a little bit to like 465 and 460, come back up and just trade sideways. We may even retest the 20 EMA for a small pullback. It's going to be completely normal. But later on, especially when we get the right decision, Jerome Powell speech, it's still possible we break out to new all-time highs. If we break 480, especially the high of the day yesterday, we're looking for 490 is our target. So look for some sideways price action. We'll just have to see how it goes from there. As far as ES goes, we are also range bound, going back and forth between supply and demand. I forgot to adjust my chart yesterday, so I did that, today just to fix it. But now we're going to be looking for this resistance. For now, we're very, very tight right now. We're getting very tight on ES. There's also a bit of a downtrend right over here. So if you look at this, we draw out like a trend line like this, but it doesn't really matter too much because we'll just have to see if we get some kind of break or not. At this point, what matters more is going to be FOMC. If we lose 60-40, we're looking for a rug pull, or 6100 and then eventually 60-40, we're going to be looking for a big rug pull. And if we end up breaking the resistance at 6150, we're looking for a big push for 6180 above that. So we'll have to see which way we end up going. Could go either way. Do look for a little dip here and some sideways price action upon open, and we'll see if we break out later on. What is helping the markets is Nvda is trying to bounce right now. So as long as we do not lose 133, we could be attempting to get back up to 136. If 133 fails us, we could be returning back down to 131, especially if we have this gap down here. But as long as we're above 133, look for an attempt to get up to 136. So I hope that's as clear as possible. There's some bullish momentum that's building, and we could see an attempt to bounce on Nvda just by a couple of points. For Bitcoin, just know that we have a weaker structure here. If we don't break past 104,800, we could dip a little bit closer to 103,000 before it tries to bounce. If we break past 106,000, we could break out more. I think we may consolidate in the 104,000s before we start dipping lower, so keep that in mind. We'll have to see if we bounce or not, so we'll just have to see how it goes from there. For NQ, there might be a small dip to about 22,250. We'll see if we bounce off that or not. But look for a little bit of a dip and some consolidation here, and we'll see if Jerome Powell causes a bounce or a rug pull. Might come down a bit, then rebound for some sideways price action. So look for a small dip before anything else. Same thing with the QQQ. We might be dipping for 535 flat. If that fails, we could be dipping closer to 533. And then we could be looking for some consolidation here. We'll have to see if we get a big bounce or a rug pull, so it could go either way. We'll look for a small dip to 533, a bounce, and some sideways price action just to start things off. And then we'll see what happens on our 4-hour, especially as we approach FOMC, whatever reaction we get. If Powell pumps us, we could be looking for the 540s quite easily, especially 542. And if Jerome Powell causes a rug pull, we could be dumping all the way down towards closer to 526. I do anticipate a small dip and some consolidation for now, and then we'll see what Jerome Powell causes. As far as Apple goes, look for a little bit of a pullback. We could be retesting closer to 251 to 250 in this range right here for a small dip. And we'll see if we get a bounce. So there might be some sideways price action like this. Then we'll see if Jerome Powell pumps us to at least 255 or if he gives us a rug pullback down to 248. So it could go either way. For the IWM, we're trying to rebound here. If we break past 234, we're looking for 236. If we reject here, we're looking for a dip back down to 232. This is favoring 234 is the most likely possibility to try to break this resistance. Eventually 236, so we'll just have to see how it goes. But I do see some potential in this, try to push a little higher to at least 234. Then we'll see what happens after that, at least technically speaking. For Coinbase, we're kind of flat here. We could retest 312 and just continue to consolidate, so give this some more time to develop. For Amazon, we're on a very, very nice uptrend right now. We might retest 229 or so before we attempt to rebound. If we lose that, we could be looking for a dip back down to 227. So look for a small dip here and then a rebound and give this the time it needs. For Meta, we're just completely range bound right here. If we end up dipping lower, we're looking for essentially 616 and 613. If we manage to hold above 622, we could try to bounce. Look for a small dip for 616, a rebound, and some sideways price action before we attempt to rebound. Um, for Microsoft, look for a small dip as well for 450. We might dip to 450. If that does not hold, I'm looking for 448. I don't think it's going to dip that much. We might just see a small dip and then maybe a bounce afterwards once we get our rate decision. Then Jerome Powell's not going to launch this or give us a big rug pull. So look for a small dip for now. Google may also dip a little bit to about 194 if 195 fails us. Look for a small dip and we'll see if we bounce or not. And then Jerome Powell is going to cause even more volatility. So I hope that's as clear as possible. As far as Tesla goes, there might be a small dip coming to about 460. If that does not hold, I'm going to be looking for essentially the 450 area, very close to low 450s, depending on where the 20 EMA happens to be. Could we go even lower? I'm not counting on that. We'll have to see about that. Like I said before, we did get this negative news involving the Chinese Gigafactory, and Tesla was due to pull back a bit after some tough resistance, but we could still bounce later on, and whether we get some huge bounce or not depends on the big guy, Jerome Powell. All right, thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update, and peace out.